Hello, everyone. I think we're kind of ready to go. See a lot of people in the chat. Bogdan, you can take it away.
Hey guys, good to see you again today. Let me share my screen. So welcome to this webinar. Just to give you a bit of context, this is a webinar we do weekly. We just started last week. This is the second edition. And the purpose of this webinar is to get together with the team, but also with the community, to have conversations about big things that are coming, about patterns in low code, and even get our hands dirty by building something from scratch, which I think we'll do next week. Today, I want to cover some of the new stuff that are coming in 1.6. So PlanTNAP 1.6 will be released next week. But I wanted to take this moment to preview some of the feature, maybe get some additional feedback from everyone, and then move towards seeing what's next in 1.7, 1.8, and why not discuss what other things we need to take into account. So just to give you a bit of context or a bit of instructions, feel free to comment in chat, to raise hand if you want to speak. It's open to everyone to participate, to comment, to show stuff. I mean, that's the purpose of this event, to be a collaboration space and a community and team event. So give me just 1 second to open all my chat windows so I see them.
And Bogdan, just so you know, you have to be the one that gives people permission to either speak with voice or with video.
Of course, yes. I have them on my second screen. I have the windows and I will see when people raise their hand or comment. And chat, okay. Cool. So I think we are ready to start. Let's look at the major highlights that we have in 1.6. One of the biggest achievements for us was getting compatible with DNN 9.6. This is a big milestone for us. For now, it's compatible with on-premise version for 9.6. We haven't migrated the hosted packages yet to 9.6, but this is something we'll do in the next release. So I will go and show demo these features, and feel free to add to my comments if you know more about them, if you have questions, if you have suggestions. So let me get my instances up. Yeah. So one of the new features that we added was to simplify working with entities, because so far we had that entity tree, which is still available, but it's not the main view anymore. And we call that the dependency view. So this tree that will grow with to show the relationship between entities and so on. It's on the second view. The main view is just a plain list with all the entities. So it's easy to see them, to edit them from here. You don't have to look for them in the dependency tree. And this is something that we'll keep adding. We will keep adding to link the two views, so you can see the dependency for a single entity. You see its entire dependency tree. But also this gives us the ability to expand on other features that I heard from our team, from our implementation team, but also from customers, like the ability to go directly to the customer page to see the customers. You know? So this will act like a main thing to do stuff about entities. So this is a small change. We'll talk more about entities because it will be major focus in next two releases, and we'll talk more about entities towards the end. In the meanwhile, I will move over to the next features. So probably the biggest impact, at least in terms of the of UI, is the new token builder. So basically, we rewritten the entire token builder that was old UI. I think it was quite a few years old. Integrated plant an app in the builder. So can you confirm you still hear me?
Yes, I think you cut off for just a second.
Yeah, I think I received a window that Zoom crashed, so.
Should be good now.
Yeah. So I think I need to share again. Okay. So this is the new token builder. So it's basically rewritten from ground up with Angular material, and it's integrated in this app builder. So there are no other page reloads. You know, so when you come from a different page, like let's say we are on general, you come on tokens, you see it's instant because it's loaded in the same application as the entire app builder. So we try to keep a close structure in terms of the old my tokens, like having the tokens on the left and then see the details on the right. But we did some cleanup and optimization around it. So let's look at them. Again, you start by creating namespaces, but this, as you can see, it's a button that you see up front, and it's also here in the toolbar. So you start by creating a namespace, giving it a description. All the help text and tooltips are here. Okay, so it created it for me, and you'll start seeing, even from this stage, like small enhancements that we did to improve usability and speed of development, like the ability to create tokens directly from here, which will happen in the right hand. So we still use the right hand as the main work area. And even now you see that we changed this. It used to be like more wizard kind of driven in a small pop-up, which was difficult to work with. Now it's expanded here. And this is probably best experience when you start writing code, which you know, it's difficult to write in a small pop-up. Just a second. I will also stop my video so I have better performance. Okay, so let's start doing a token. Let's call it I don't know, a script. And then under the definition, you can select the types of the token, and you'll see that we got rid of some token types. They are still accessible through the old UI, but in this UI, you can no longer create like FTP tokens, mail tokens, or file system tokens. We learned from our customer and from our team that nobody uses those. So, and they have equivalent in actions. Most of them have equivalent in actions. So they can be achieved through workflows. So let's say that we want to start with a Reza script. And now you see here I have a script editor. What's nice about this script editor is that it does get bigger. So even if it appears small, once you start writing, it auto scales. So you can see more code. You can see the entire code, and also it has syntax highlighting, so it's easier to work with. You see. Okay. So then also all the other options are oh, C#. All the other options are still present. For example, caching And you'll notice the way we did it, like make it really clean. Only if you set it, it will be also be highlighted on the section, so you don't have to scroll down into each section to see its settings. And same for the definition. Like you see, it already says it's a Razor script. So when you are there, you know without going through each section what's in there. Again, we can test. We have the test window at the bottom. Some improvements that we did here. Again, we kept the same layout, so to make it easier for people to transition. But we added other improvements. Like here, I can type and hit Control Enter, and it gets replaced automatically. You know, so it avoids some round trips with the mouse to back and forth between the test button and the text area. Yeah. So right now we have a namespace. You can still have the namespace view where you see all the tokens, and then on each token you can edit, which opens its own tab. So instead of being pop-ups, it's tabs now. And also you can notice other like small improvement, UX improvements that help develop faster. Like we used to have this test token, and people would use it to maybe see how it works, but also copy paste it to use it somewhere else. But that's possible now with this copy button, so you can copy directly from here, and you can even copy it from the menu. So you don't even have to open a namespace. You can copy it from here, and it's copied in the clipboard, and then I can paste it wherever I want and test it, use it. What else is here? The general settings have moved in this screen, and you'll notice there are a lot less general settings. We remove or are about to remove some settings, like the patching the DNN core. We actually did a contribution to DNN community, and in 9.7 that will be a built-in mechanism, so you no longer have to patch the core. And the rest of the settings are still here. What else? We optimized also how the tokens are exported. So you can see here, when I click export, my entire tree will change into a list of checkboxes. I only have one token in my case. So when you click export, you'll also notice that we switch to JSON format. So it's easier to work with, to see. But also this, we'll see if this is a problem. Because there is no ability to import XML tokens from the old UI. So then we'll have to see if we support importing XML tokens, or since this is an upgrade, it will just work. But if it's a different instance on an older version, then we might need to do that kind of transitioning as well. And for import, I mean, it's the same. Let me actually grab an export from here. So I can copy it through the button, and then I can import it back, and let's just change the name. So I don't want to overwrite it. I want to create a new one. So you see, now I have a new token that's similar to the other one. So pretty much that's it. Just make it cleaner, leaner, upgrade the technology, and do a lot of improvements in terms of allowing for faster development. So let's see, let's open the conversation. Let's see what people think about this. Okay, so Radu, do you want to talk? I gave you access to talk.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, like, the improvements are obviously gonna help us a lot. My only question is, and I think I already asked in the Q&A of Zoom, was what's gonna happen if you have a database token that outputs multiple tokens based on the columns? How is the copy gonna work, at least from the tree?
let's check it out.
Okay.
Select from users, user ID,
and username. That should be okay.
Something like this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's see. This is the database name. So yeah, it doesn't create tokens. So yeah, that's a fair point. It doesn't expand the tokens, right? That's what you meant.
Yeah, yeah. It was, and it's gonna automatically put the parameters.
That yes. So if we have like where user ID equals like this.
Yeah.
User ID.
Okay. Okay. Cool. And
Let's
that's gonna.
Yeah, it puts it here, but also in the namespace view, you have it here. So even if you copy to clipboard, it's there.
I see. And it's gonna bring by default the first column or the default column if you don't specify the column that you need. Okay. Yeah, I think that's it from me.
Okay. Who else wants to go? Who's a heavy user of my tokens here?
There's a heavy user comment in the chat.
Oh, I haven't seen the chat. Sorry. Yeah. 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 So yeah, Dale, I get your point and Radu's point. So we will make a note. So we will put that back in to expand this token, so it's easier to copy, paste, use for sure. Cool. So was a big milestone for us, and it also opens a new pattern, because the same thing we will probably do with the rest of the screens that are a bit older UI, like the automation screen will turn into an Angular app, the API screen, the guide screen, the search screen. So they will all get revamped on the same pattern to be more integrated into the console. Okay, so now let's move on, if there are no other opinions on this matter. So let's move on to other topics in our 1.6 release. So another big change is to be able to transition to workflows more easily, because especially if you upgrade an existing DNN instance where you have lots of action forms, grids, APIs, schedulers with lots of actions, you're probably not going to create those from scratch in a workflow, even if you see the benefits of having a workflow. So then what you'll probably end up doing is migrating the actions to the workflows by copy pasting them. Right. So I have, I will switch to a different instance. Let's see if this one is still alive. Yeah, I was logged out. Yeah, so what I have here is it's a few workflows. And on the other side, I have an action form where I have a button, I have some actions there, and I would like to migrate these to workflows, right? So let's say we have, this is just the contact form from action form, but let's say that it was something complicated and I don't want to recreate it from scratch. So I have a send email action that already has a lot of settings. There's no point copy pasting one by one. So then we have this feature in our product for a long time, which is exporting an action. You can click it and it will give you the JSON, and you can copy it into the clipboard. And then you could import them also in other modules. So we had this feature for a while. You can import them even in the same form. It will just append the action again, or in other action-based module like APIs, schedule jobs, and so on. But now we also added the ability to import them into workflows. So let's look. I have a test workflow here that maybe does some actions, but then I want to import the new action that I created. So notice the two buttons at the top, export and import. We'll start with the import. So you see it copied my clipboard automatically and placed a new action for me. It put it at the beginning, but I can put it anywhere that I want. Oh, I think something. Yeah. Oh, let me link it again. Yeah. So then, so now I have a new action that was added to the process, and this also works for copying actions between workflows. So let's pick another workflow from here. I have a revoke role process here. So what I can do, I can export an action. So this is just a load user. Let's see what it does. Oh, just loads the test user. So I can export this one. It will give me JSON, copy it, and then I can import it into another workflow. So let's say we go back to our test workflow, and then I can import it here, right? So it's that simple. And furthermore, it also works with list of actions, right? So if I hold Control key pressed, I can grab, let's say, all three actions, export them, and you'll see this creates a JSON array for me with all three actions. No, copy, and then I can put them into a new workflow. Import, and it adds them there. Yep. So this is how we see, because we had this pain as well, migrating some legacy systems to workflows to use the more comprehensive business logic that's defined in the workflows. And we had this issue with having to copy setting by setting, which is time consuming, error prone, and doesn't produce so much value spending the time that way. So yeah, that's the import export feature in the workflows. And I mean, I do see a few glitches here and there, like what happened here. Looks like some weird connections, but I mean, this will be fixed by the official release next week. Yeah. So anyone wants to add any thoughts on this?
I can add one. Is the copy paste option from the workflows gonna be included in this release?
In the 1.6 release next week, yeah.
Okay. And I think I'm not talking about the import export. I'm talking about the copy paste of actions inside the workflow. So you can select, for example, load user, and you can.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it in the same workflow as well. So I copy and import it. It creates a new one.
Okay.
So it's same as copy pasting. It's just called import and export.
Okay.
Cool. So yeah. So if you have no other thoughts here, I do have a few more ones. I have a small one in terms of what it does, but it can be very powerful in terms what you can do with it, and that is the ability to execute actions asynchronously. So it also works in workflows, but also it works in any other module. So let's say that we have some long-running tasks, and we don't want the UI to wait for it. So, for example, we submit the contact form, but the contact form then needs to, I don't know, publish to 10 different systems or wait for somebody to do something. So you don't want to freeze the process while that happens. So what you can do is use this action. It's called execute actions asynchronously. And then it works like any of our other actions that allows you to create a list inside of it. So then you could, we could even let's say export this one, delete it and import it here. Yeah. So then I have the send email action inside the execute asynchronously. So, for example, we have this issue quite often when we send to a bulk of recipients an email, for example, with a newsletter. So then instead of having the form freeze for, let's say, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, for how long it takes to iterate over all the contacts and send them an email, we use this async action. The form returns immediately saying, yeah, I started the process. But then probably you will need a different mechanism to check on what happens. Like, for example, adding each mail to a database table that can be viewed in a grid, so you can see the status of each iteration of it. So I think this opens a lot of possibilities. We also used it for our internal purposes. For example, when we build products, we build a DevOps system using our technology. So when we build, let's say, an action form module, which takes a few minutes, what we do is we start one of these asynchronous execution, and then nothing, the UI doesn't freeze, the button doesn't freeze while the build is being compiled. Yeah, so this is also a power one. And then I was hoping to show you a big one today, but I understand that we still have some issue and it's not demoable yet. We have a dashboard piece coming. It will also be available in 1.6, but it's more like a proof of concept. We don't expect to be production ready yet. It's like a preview feature. But in 1.7, 1.8, we'll integrate it into the entities. So when you generate an entity, we start with some KPIs on the entity page automatically. So you can see things like how many new entities of that type was added in a time interval, how many were updated, stuff like that. But they are highly customizable. So you can select various properties out of the entity to show and aggregate them through a function. So it will be very powerful, but unfortunately, I cannot demo this today. So the next one is a big thing. I mean, we had daytime issues over the years with various time zones and formats. So this year we decided that it's time to start like with a new control to fix these issues and also provide a better overall experience. So for this one, I will leave Reza to lead the demo because he's been more closely involved with this one. So Reza, I made you a presenter, a panelist. Let me stop my share. You are on mute.
You guys can hear me. I can't share video, but that's probably a good thing. Let me have the screen ready. Okay, so you guys should be just seeing a simple grid page with just called dates. I just created an entity and added a couple of date time fields to it. And what I want to show you is,
Sorry, Reza, I don't see your screen yet. I don't know if anybody else sees it.
I cannot.
let me try again.
Yeah,
How about now?
we can.
There we go. Okay. And so, yeah, one of the main things that brought this about was if you've been around a while, you've had the 1969 issue when you're pre-populating dates. So as we got in there and really realized that the Angular date time picker we were using was really outdated. So we've got so this is what the old one looked like. And so now we've got a new one based on a more modern library. It has a lot more control and flexibility that you can put in over formatting and things. Also, we've done a lot of work in the back end to be able to pull back dates in ISO times and different things with offsets and local date time. And so, yep, really it's just new, and it preserves your values much better.
Maybe you can also show us the back end of it, how it
Sure.
looks.
Yep. So a couple things you'll notice is that if you go under date and time, what we had before now has parentheses deprecated. So it's still supported. Your old stuff's not going to break, but you can convert then to the new date time picker. And anything going forward new, you should use this one. In Plant an App, it will automatically use this one and generate your forms and things with this. There's some guidance here around how to write your queries if you're not using entities as reading from entities, but rather like legacy or your own SQL tables. And a convert that you'll want to do to bring that over in a different format. And so you have the ability, there's some guidance on these other pages here that we link to for the various formats that you can use, and they're vast from Microsoft. You can get very granular, 24-hour times down to seconds. You pick, do you want date and time, date, or just time? You can disable past and future dates. You set what's the first day of the week. This is just depending on how you're building your app and maybe where you're located geographically. Culturally, what's the start of the week? And I'll show you in a second. That just determines the shift off of the calendar. You can disable weekends. You can show it inline rather than in a pop-up. You can set minimums, maximum dates, same type of things with time. You can increment your time. You can set min and max, go into 24-hour mode or not 24-hour mode and do AM, PMs. Again, you have the full array of support of all the formatting from Microsoft with date time that would come back. And you can look these up. There's good examples here and things. So, you know, lowercase, uppercase makes a difference, that sort of thing. So other than that, it's pretty straightforward here. And one difference is rather than the brackets, like in the old one here, you'll see where it advises you to use the old token for current date time. And now it's just, you just type today, the word today, and that will bring back and default it then to, if you wanted your initial value or to start with whatever the current date and/or date time is.
You mean under initial value?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So in this case, I'm populating off of the record you selected. But if I wanted to default, we can do a new one as well. So it's showing up now. Now it's easier to navigate through years. Another neat feature, the old one, when you would click, the pop-up is all you could do. And so it was very hard to clear a time. And this one you can click in now and just hit backspace and wipe out times. You want to start fresh or something. And the time picker is. And so this is also a setting that you can change so that they match. In this case, I just overrode the output display to be not 24-hour, but I didn't change the picker.
Yep, looks very powerful. What's the migration path? It has to be manual, or is there some sort of just change the type and it will work most of the time?
I'm going to turn that one over to Vlad.
Yeah, let me give Vlad participants and give Vlad the ability to talk. Yes, Vlad.
Okay, hello everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, so unfortunately we couldn't do it yet. It's a manual upgrade path because there were a lot of backend and front-end inconsistencies in the old version. And now we are trying to support everything with UTC dates and time zone informations and correct values, you know. And we try to communicate only in UTC, and the old one was not doing it. And we had to do a lot of things regarding formats and stuff like that.
Got it.
So Vlad, when you say though manually, if I did take one and where it says it would say deprecated, right? Once I upgrade, and then I pick the new picker, what will it all be completely cleared out, or is it like what I'm feeding into it needs to change? Is it just picking your format options and things, or fundamentally you've got to go to your?
Yeah, you gotta. It's the same as creating a new field, you know. For now. Because now we have a client format and we are enforcing a value format. So the value format is ISO, and that's how we communicate always, because that is the best way to save in the database, to have the full information. So the old date picker was not offering you full information. You didn't know the time zone. Even if you specified it in the format, sometimes it was buggy. And now this one enforces value formats as ISO. And also you can specify a client format, which was not supported before. So you don't have information about it, you know.
Yep. So one question that Radu asks is why the time is 9:10 in the grid and it was different in the form. So I suspect that we don't have the convert to user time setting in action grid ticked.
Is he referring to 24 hours or things like that?
No.
No, I mean
9:10 and here is 2:10. So I think we don't convert that to user times on the one in the grid.
Yeah.
I think the one in the grid is actually converted.
Yeah, the one in the grid is correct.
To user time, yeah. So in the new date picker, do you have the ability to, or it does this automatically, like convert from user time to server time?
Well, we are communicating only through ISO, you know,
Mm-hmm.
directly from the database. And in the client format, we are usually trying to do it in client format also, but maybe we have some bugs here.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Thanks, Radu, for catching that.
guess we can see what happens live. No difference.
Yeah, we'll see.
Cool. So yeah, these are the major highlights in 1.6. Let me share back my screen. It will be out next week, like I told you. And then we will move towards the next releases. 1.7 will be a smaller release, but 1.8, our goal is to do a lot of work on the entities to improve the UI, UX, and add some new features in terms of where entity pages automatically generates. So maybe Reza, do you want to take over to talk a bit about what to expect from the next releases?
Sure. Yeah. So 1.7 is, 1.8 is going to be big, and we're going to take a kind of a design sprint and really think about what we're doing and what the best way is to make sure we can keep it iterating forward. So 1.7 is going to be a minor release, just making sure that like the self-registration can be on DNN 9.6 as well automatically. There's a couple of support center items that we want to take care of for clients, and just some minor things. We'll take a small iteration on the KPI dashboard and support. Right now, the dashboard is automatically data source wise tied to entities that are generated by Plantain, but we'll roll out the ability to write your own SQL to tie that as the data source, so you can hit any table and make use of the dashboard. Currently, it shows a tiled type view, similar to I stopped my screen share, didn't I?
Yeah. Do you want to share it back? I stopped mine.
Yeah, real quick, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure.
One second. Okay. So just so you know what it's going to support, we have a tile view that we tend to use and show a lot this up here. And so the first iteration of the dashboard will tie directly to entities and allow you to pick up some metadata about how many items have been created in the last all time, the last week, the last day, that sort of stuff. And so you'll be able to write your own SQL and then show any data you want in these tiles based on what your SQL had. The 1.7 may also have a line chart that you can tie your data to. So you can actually see data over time showing, so date would be one axis and then the count of items would be the other. So that'll be 1.7. 1.8 is going to be much bigger. And so, one of the powers of Plantain app right now is that you can very quickly create entities and get the block and tackle kind of CRUD UI out. So the listings are here, the forms are here, the detail view page is created for you. The only downside to it is that you have to go a bit deep under the hood. And when you have a lot of fields specifically, wanting to change the order of these, you'd have to edit this HTML. You're going to get a whole lot of data shown up on the grids that are created. And so we want to make it so that very easily out of the entity builder, you can drag and drop and set the order that things will show up. You can pick what will show on a grid and what won't. Kind of this concept of above the fold, below the fold, we're calling it. So you can also pick what are my kind of first-class citizen fields that I always want to show everywhere. And then the other ones will be kind of what count as the details, right? So if you have any required fields, they're going to need to go up above the fold. And when you're like on a listing page, and you add a form, you hit add or whatever, just your required above the form fields will show. When you're on the detail page, the form will have a greater depth and the additional fields, that sort of stuff. And so really wanting to think about what the best way to handle that is, being able to also control the pages that are generated and the menu that comes along with that, what shows up in the menu, what's nested under other items. We're talking about doing a new type of entity called a group, and it's really just going to live in the menu and allow you to nest a lot of the, if I minimize this down a little bit, you'll see I did this manually in this example here, but I just have a lot of entities that were created to support drop-downs and data lists and lookups and things like that. And I really don't want those in my menu. I don't want to tie them. They're not necessarily tied to individual entities. They can be reused. So I just group them under here. And this is kind of part of an administrative function, right? A lot of times people don't even build this sort of stuff into their app because there's not time to make screens and UI and things just to manage a list of risk levels, for example, that would show up in a dropdown. But that gives you good data referential integrity. It lets you do better sorting and filtering. You can do tiles and things around this. So you want to have this sort of setup, but putting in the work to give UI for that, especially when it's, your administrator type, not DNN administrator, but your office administrator type users that might manage this sort of stuff, they end up having to bug IT, right? To, hey, I need this changed, I need a new one added. So Plantain App solves that problem. And the UI here is great for that sort of thing. And, but needing a place to not treat these the same as you're treating your main, if you've got a list of projects or ticket management, that's really the entities where you're going to want to have more control and flexibility of what you show, who you show it to, that sort of stuff. We want to get more granular with our permissions. Right now you can say who can add a record to a table, right? Who can edit, that sort of thing. But then if you can add, you can see everything. If you can edit, you can see everything. So we want to get more granular with the control and say, maybe there's pricing or sales information, salary information. While I do want to let someone add a new employee or view the employee list, I don't want to let them see the salary, but I want to let management see that. Well, I don't want to have two separate pages for that, right? So you're looking at being able to say, hey, this field right here, here's who can actually edit this, view it, that sort of stuff. Same approach that we have with the permissions on entities, but taking that down a level deeper into properties. So a lot there, a lot to think about. We've gotten some feedback. We do want to reach out, like Dale, a lot of that was based on feedback you gave and really good feedback, and you're right. So we took that to heart, but before we just go and turn something like this out, we want to take a little time and think about what we're doing and make sure it's right. So we'll be looking for some input and feedback on that as well. And we want to take that design sprint next week, hence do a smaller release next time out, so we can have a little time to really make sure we lay ourselves a good runway for incrementing and finally kind of first steps into giving users some control around the front end and what the UI and user experience looks like with working with entities all the way through, viewing them, editing them, the listings, the forms, that sort of stuff.
Yep. Big things coming. I can't wait to see them. And also, revamp of this UI. We want it to look much better from the start. It's still skinnable, so it's still, you can put your own skins, your own styles, do something more custom. But what comes out of the box, we want it to look like more sleek, more modern.
Yep. More to come there, and same thing with implementations team. I know you guys are using this a lot and you have a lot of good ideas. The idea to rework the menu system and how and where the pages are generated, Radu, that came from something you asked about a few weeks ago. So want to speak with you all and see what ideas you have, since you're kind of, it's one thing to be building the tool. It's another thing to be using it to build systems for people. So want to hear what you guys think and take all that in.
Sure.
Cool. So I think we still have 10 minutes, so I would want to use this time to hear from people in this webinar. What else do you feel is missing today? What's stopping you from doing a lot more faster? Radu, I know you have something.
I mean, like, the roadmap looks fine. I mean, it's even if I'm missing it right now, it's gonna be done in the next releases. So let's have it first, and after that we can see with those what we are still missing or what we can still improve. I know that I'm like I didn't see the new JavaScript action that was developed in the presentation, but hopefully it's gonna be in 1.6. I already used it and it's great.
But it was in 1.5, right?
Oh, 1.5. Okay.
It was in last release, if I remember correctly.
So forgot. I saw it in the product, but I didn't remember. Sorry. No, I mean, like, not. I don't really have anything to add at the moment. Let's see 1.6 and how it goes with the dashboard and with the my tokens updates and the sync actions, which are really cool and they can really be. And I think the async actions are really useful for having a more fluid UI. Not really, you know, they're gonna do basically the same thing, but it's gonna help you to have a more fluid UI. If you have a 1 minute time to generate a PDF with a lot of data, you can say to the people, you know, we are gonna send it to you over email in a few minutes.
Yep.
Check your email and you can start working behind the scenes, but the people are not blocked on that screen for 1 minute waiting for the PDF to be generated.
Yep. I think it's the same like with more advanced, like when you export, you know, we have that issue when you export a grid to Excel, but that grid has hundreds of thousands of entries.
Yeah.
That's also a good use case to do it like this, export it to Excel and send it via email, or just maybe pop a notification somewhere. You know, like BNN, for example, has its notification mechanism. Your Excel has been completed, click here to download it.
Yeah.
Same thing going the other way. If you're importing data, you don't have to get blocked and wait.
Yep. Yeah. So I think after we managed to do this heavy lifting on the entities, the next major thing for us is to solve our application templating features, you know, to be able to start with templates, to be able to reuse a lot of projects that we build, that our customers build, you know, even allow maybe the community to publish templates. So I think that will become the major priority, with a focus to also solve the deployment process in a more streamlined manner through the GitHub integration to the application versioning features. But we do have some way to go until there. So I think this is the webinar. These first two editions were more internally, and we only invited people privately. The next one, next week, it will be the first public webinar. We'll post it on social media, on our website, invite people to attend. So it will be a much broader event. And next week, we plan to do a webinar on building an app from scratch. So we get that hands-on experience, getting our hands dirty and doing something in 1 hour or less. So I think that would be very cool. And again, if you have suggestions for what you want to see, what you want to discuss in the webinar, I will invite you to send them to me, and I will organize them. And I will invite the entire community to send it to us. And we'll probably even add it to the webinar registration form, like a custom field for people to to tell us what they would like to see, what they are interested in, because we want to make this as close to everybody, to our team, to our customers as possible. So at the end of this webinar, there is one question that needs to be answered. Has anyone learned anything new? If everyone did, then we achieved our purpose. So that's it from me. Thanks, guys, for being here in this webinar. And we'll see each other next week.
Thank you. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.